I've been in dogs since 1991. We breed dogs that we want to train. I was out here in western Nebraska riding Harleys and training dogs. I don't sugarcoat anything, and if you don't like it, tough.
Welcome to another episode of Flatliner Kennels Podcast with Chris Jobman. My name is Elliot, and we are recording here today. It's been a little while. Chris, how's it been going? I haven't talked to you for a couple weeks.
Elliot, how are you? We've been busy. We had a double master this last week here at the kennel, and just getting ready for the Mass National, getting ready for the Grand, and just going wide open. Tanner runs an HRC test this coming weekend in Kansas, and that'll be our last weekend test until next year. And we got the Grand and the National coming up, and we'll be done for the year as far as testing goes.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I know on the episode, we're going to dig into more into those master tests, because you guys kind of structured them a little bit different, didn't you, than normal?
We ran one test was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which we got that test done on Wednesday. And then the next test was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we got that test done on Saturday. So we didn't have two tests running at the same time. We had one test and then the other test, which that made it a lot nicer. It wasn't quite as hectic as it normally is.
Awesome. Well, why don't you give everyone a little preview of this episode, and then we'll give the partners a shout out and get going.
Yeah, this is a special episode. We have the Grand Poobah, the exalted ruler, the king of the Grand, on Mr. Tracy Stubbs, who's the Grand Committee chairman, who I've known for a long, long time, and I consider a friend. And he's a really good dude and a great ambassador for HRC and the Grand. So, hi, Tracy. How are you, bud?
Good, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So before we dig into Mr. Stubbs and the Grand and all of that, we like to introduce our second partner. We picked up another one, Guardian Dog Crates, and I've been using Guardian Dog Crates. I know Chris got a couple of them, and I had to make sure and get his approval. I'm like, hey, I was contacted by this company now, and I think these crates are pretty cool, but as the pro, they've got to pass your test if we're going to bring these guys on as a partner. And I've been using them. The great things about these Guardian Mammoth dog crates is they're less expensive than your higher end models, but they come with a roll cage attachment with enforced steel on them, so you can put them in the back of your truck, strap them down with straps, and they are completely safe for travel with that roll cage attachment. Or if you just keep your kennel in the back of your truck, not in the bed, but the back, then you don't have to use the roll cage. I actually have two setups. When Georgie and I are when I'm putting her in the back, because if I've got too much gear in the bed, or if I'm going out hunting, I just take the roll cage attachment off and I just stick it in the actual back seat of my pickup. But when we're going on a big trip and I've got her in the back, then I put the roll cage attachment on, and it's just a really good option that isn't going to kill your wallet when you buy it. So if you want to check out the Mammoth Guardian Dog Crate, go to Amazon and just search that Mammoth Guardian Dog Crate. And with Guardian 15, you can get 15% off the price. And if you want to get that roll cage attachment, then you can get that. And it's a nice little product. It really is.
That roll cage, great. Check it out. That roll cage on them is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool design. I kind of dig it. So they're a nice product.
Without the roll cage, I don't think I would want something a little sturdy. But when you put that roll cage on there, like I said, it's nice.
I agree with you.
Nice little,
100%. So let's give a shout out to our other partner, Big Cottonwood Retrievers out of Llewellyn, Nebraska. Grant and Shari Hatch, good friends of the kennel, good friends of mine. If you're looking for a puppy, they do a really nice job on their breedings. They use a lot of our stud dogs, and they're good, really good people. Will take care of you. So if you're looking for a puppy out there down the road, whether it be a field trial, hunt, test, hunting home, give Big Cottonwood Retrievers a shout out there.
And that's who I refer my personal friends to. I've got 2 or 3 friends in communication with them right now. Chris, did you see the picture that Grant posted of the Flash and Susie daughter on the Facebook page?
I did.
What a picture.
That is an incredible picture. That is, I have one of Flash jumping in the pond. He's not jumping up like that, but I have one of him jumping in the pond that's pretty cool. And a lot of them Flash puppies are super, as you know, are super, super, super athletic. But
yeah,
that was a cool picture.
Sure was. If you guys want to see that picture and just get into the conversation of the podcast, Flatlander Kennels podcast Facebook group, make sure and come on over and join the next recording Chris and I do. We're going to be doing questions from the audience and all of that. So if you love the dogs and love the dog stuff and love Flatlander Kennels, get over there to the Facebook group and come join us and what we got going on.
Well, Tracy, how you been, bud?
Good, man. Just getting busy. It's that time.
Tell me about it. We got October 18th it starts, and we'll be heading to the Grand and La Verge? How do you say it? La Verge?
Yeah, La Verge, Tennessee.
La Verge, Tennessee. Basically, Nashville is where we're headed to.
Yep, just outside of Nashville.
Yeah. So, Elliot, what do you got for Tracy?
Well, I want to get into Tracy's whole background and how he got from point A to Z, but before we do that, I'm a little curious. I've been through HRC tests. My dog has her HRCH, but I've never been to a grand event. I really don't know much about it. And so Tracy, can you just kind of tell us what are your responsibilities and your role with the grand?
Okay. Well, I am currently the chairman, as Chris said, of the International Grand. So because we are an international organization between Canada and the U.S., the Grand is the pinnacle of the HRC. It's the dog that is the best of the best and shows that consistency and strength. So it's 2 times a year, a spring grand and a fall grand. And my responsibility is just like at the local club as the chair is to oversee everything and make sure that, everything from the entries to the birds to the stuff gets done. I am supported with a great group that assists me in that. I think our traveling group, minus the judges, is around 60 people now, and then you throw in 20 judges that rotate around, and then you'll have 25 to 60 local members from a host club there. So it's a great group of people. They're always very enthusiastic, even with the exhausting work, and we love it. It's a passion. So,
and how many chairman? So you're a committee chairman, correct? Is your title?
Yes. Yep.
How many did you say are on the committee?
On the whole grand group, and that's the grand committee personnel and the site coordinators, the public relations, the hunt secretaries, the grand treasurer, and all that. And the judges, the 20 judges. We have about 75 people.
That's insane. Wow. I had Tracy. I've been running the grand since 2003, I believe, and I had no idea you guys had that many people running around. That's incredible.
Yeah. We've been very lucky with all this incredible growth we've had the last 5 or 6 years, and it takes an army, and I got the best.
You do. There is your crew is incredible. From Glenn and all them, it's absolutely. If people would ever see the Grand and how efficient it works, it's incredible. Actually, it really is.
Well, thank you,
Tracy,
Chris. That means a lot.
How much of your time during a course of a year is involved in the Grand?
Well, it's there's quite a bit of time. Traveling on the road, probably around 4 to 5 weeks in both Grands. We also attend the national meeting in St. Louis of HRC because the Grand is a committee, and we give reports and we go through audits and things of the Treasury. From the HRC treasurer and the audit committee, go over our books, make sure everything's on the up and up and all of that because we are a corporation. So, as part of HRC Inc., the Grand is the hunt committee for HRC Inc. And so probably 5 or 6 weeks of traveling. And then, we work on it. It has periods of time that it ramps up that it's almost every day, like this time of the year, I'm dealing with something from the Grand every day. I get phone calls and, from vendors and my crews and, stuff like that. We're getting, travel groups ready now, airline tickets booked, those kinds of things. Rita, our Grand Treasurer's getting out expense checks to everybody so that, they can have their travel money ahead of time. And so it gets real busy this time of year. So, it's every day right now that I'm doing something with it. So.
Now, do the actual setups have to run through the committee, and how long in planning are the setups? And
okay, if we are going to a known place like we are at the Piercy WMA there in La Verge, is we know what the setups, what the waters are and the land sites, and so we kind of know where we're going. We bring the judges in 3 days ahead of the event starting, and we give them a seminar that's specific to the Grand. It's about a 5-hour seminar, 4 or 5 hours, and we get them up to date on the Grand standard, because the Grand has its own set of rules in HRC that the board of directors established. So we get them all on the same page and thinking with us, and then we assign them their partner, and then we assign them their site, which will have the Grand committee person that will sit with them, and the site coordinator and the PR people. So kind of put our groups together. We keep that a secret agent secret until the very last minute, because we want all of our judges to come into the seminar with an open mind and learn about consistency and the things that we're looking for in the Grand standard. So we keep that pairings right till the last second. And then they go out and then they do their setup for a couple of days. And, we work on the setups. There's a Grand committee person that's there, and they're helping them. We don't tell them what to do, but we suggest them. The only thing that we'll designate is the line. We want to run this direction, and we like to run towards the north, and give us as much open time that we can, because we're going to run as early as we can, and we're going to run as late as we can to get it done. And so we'll say, we want you to run in this direction, and then, let them start working and thinking out their marks. And kind of different than a regular hunt test is we're going to question every element of their test. And it's not to take anything away from the judges, but there's nothing that's in a Grand test that isn't there for a reason. Would you agree, Chris?
100%. There is no gimmies when it comes to Grand. And it's amazing to me how every mark actually means something. Like the blinds, the blinds are always tough to finish. It's amazing to me how there's nothing unturned. Like you put the decoys in a certain spot, you put the bushes in a certain spot to influence the dogs. It's pretty incredible how you guys do it, really.
Hey, Tracy, do you guys have to go on site on where the setup is and approve it officially there? Or do they bring it to you in some type of a meeting where they kind of, I'm curious of the process of how hard it is for the judges how much scrutiny there is before it gets finally approved?
We'll get the judges there, and they'll start setting it up, and then we're going to challenge them on every aspect of that test. Where every mark's at, where they're going to start judging, how they're going to move from the working dog position to the honor dog position, and then how they're going to finish the test and exit out of the test, and where judgment stops. And, it's important at the Grand, because this is, like I said earlier, the pinnacle of the organization, and it's a national title. So, these dogs are expected to perform with precision and style and be the ultimate hunting dog. And so we'll challenge the judges on that and make sure that they're following the rules, that it's safe, and that, that it has a concept in it, and how they're going to affect each other. And, we want a pure marking test, and then we want a blind that you have to stay engaged all the way to the bird. And so we work with the judges, and our judges are team players, and, our committee, and we get in there, and we have some amazing judges, and, they do a great job. And, just a little bit of tweaking, and that's how we come together with the test. And we make, a dog run it and watch it, time it, see how the flow is going to be. The site coordinators will be involved with how they're going to rebird, how they're going to get bird techs in and out all day. Because, we're going to start as early as we can. Sometimes that's 7 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to run that thing until, we run out of safe light. So we got to get people in and out of the field, and so everybody's got a little bit of input, not just the judges. That differs from a weekend hunt test. So,
right. How many years have you been on the committee?
I've been on the committee now about 12 years, and then I judged 4 Grands prior to that, starting in 2006.
So let's jump back and let everyone get to know you and kind of your story. Start by where you grew up, and let's just start there. Where'd you grow up, and what was your childhood like?
Okay. Well, I grew up in a pretty large family down in Central Florida. We lived in the Kissimmee St. Cloud area. Graduated from St. Cloud High School. Go Bulldogs! And I went to work there in Osceola County as a fireman. My dad was a fireman uncle. We had a lot of history in our family of firemen. And so I went to work for the county there and worked there for 23 years and worked my way up through the ranks there. And, grew up, my dad was always a very avid outdoorsman. If he was outside, we went with him and did it, whatever kind of hunting we could do. And from, deer and hogs and turkeys and quail and whatever else we could find. I got into duck hunting later in life. Got bitten by that bug and have traveled all over the country and hunted and naturally had to have a good dog. And, if I can jump forward to that, is we were in a deer club up in Georgia, deer hunting, and I went to the Buckarama, which is a huge trade show in Perry, Georgia at the fairgrounds. And Old South Hunting Retriever Club was there putting on a demonstration. I've been hunting, duck hunting a couple of years, and, in Florida, not a lot of dogs are used in the style of duck hunting that we're doing because of the gators. And but I saw Old South and Marcus Bice, who Chris knows very well, and great pro trainer. And I saw that club put on a demonstration, and I told it was my girlfriend at the time, but now my wife. I said I have got to have one of those, and she could have probably had a really nice house and a lot of nice vehicles and great vacations and all that if I hadn't went to that trade show.
So how old were you at that time? How old were you at the time?
I was about 23 years old. So,
and you had never owned a bird dog of any type?
I've had bird dogs, pointing dogs, but never had a dedicated retriever. So
when you were growing up as a child, you guys were had pointers?
We had some pointers, but we had a lot of. My dad was a big deer hunter, and we had hounds and hog hunters. There's a lot of that goes on in Florida, and we had cur dogs and all of that kind of stuff. But it was around a lot of folks that had pointing dogs and stuff. Just I had one PE coach that was a really super avid duck hunter, and he had a chocolate dog that he took all over the country and. Just everywhere he could go hunt ducks. He had killed every species of ducks in the North American continent that you could legally kill. And he had took that dog with him on most of the hunts. So that was kind of some inspirations when you started digging back into it.
So your family were dog people. You didn't have duck dogs.
Correct.
Right. And you're so early 20s, you start duck hunting, and then you see a demonstration and that just is that when you really got into the dog stuff?
And it ignited it, and I went out and did probably what everybody that jumps into this is. I didn't go with an educated saying I went and just got me a Labrador, and then she was a great dog, she was a great pet, but she cared nothing about retrieving or anything like that, and so. Was kind of disappointed with that first array, but my dad took her.
But you tried to hunt that dog?
Yeah, I tried to hunt her, and she just did not have it in her. And
were you living in Georgia at that time?
No, in Florida.
You're still living in Florida, okay?
Yes.
So, and your goal was to duck hunt that dog in Florida.
That's right. And sent her off to a trainer, and he called me, 30 days in, said, bud, this dog is just not going to work. She doesn't have it in her. And so my dad wanted her as a pet, and I gave her to him as a pet, and I bought a dog from the trainer, because I'd been up there training with him a few days and saw what a real dog was. And I bought a good started dog from him, which was actually an Eben Starline Mac daughter. And I hunted that dog and didn't know the importance of what I had there. I just knew that I had a really good hunting dog. And, man, we didn't lose any more birds after that. She was incredible. And got bit by it and then went back with that guy. And he ended up giving me a puppy. And I trained that puppy with the help of a lot of great friends and made a 500-point HRC H dog in him and hunted him and had a great time. And then I'm on about my 5th generation of dogs now.
So the first dog, the not the first dog you got, but the first real duck dog you got, did you run hunt tests with that dog?
We tried, but I was learning how to train. She was trained probably at the season level. She ran some decent little blinds, but I hunted her everywhere that I could go and created some of those habits and breaking and some of those things that we learn as trainers not to let them get started. But we had some fun with it. But when I got the second dog, I got him as a competition, dog, not just a pure hunting dog. So and I still hunted Jenny forever. So.
How old were you when you got the competition dog?
26 or 27 years old, somewhere in that
So
range.
you were moving through dogs pretty quickly. Then you had your third dog in about 3 or 4 years from
Yes,
kind of when
sir.
you got bit,
Yep.
and that's when you really got into because you self trained the third one.
That's right, and got in a group, and met some great trainers. Got to traveling to hunt test, met a lot of great people. Met a friend up here in Alabama, and started coming up and training with him. I was having some problems with the dog, and he was a pro trainer, and he said, "Come on up and train with me," and we became best of friends, and started coming up every other weekend, it seemed like, and training. We quit running tests and just trained and learned about dogs. And so he was in a group with a lot of great guys, and Kate Gentry and some other guys that Chris knows, that they're just dog men, and they taught me a lot. And it's those lessons will never be forgotten. So
Yeah, well, I haven't heard that name, Kay Gentry, in a long time, but he's a great dude. I haven't seen him forever.
yep, he's still running field trials.
Yeah,
So.
I figured he was.
So it was the third dog then that the training bug really took hold of you, right?
Yes.
The one you self trained yourself. How did that affect? Because I know, as an amateur trainer, I know a lot of guys that it's like the same story. It's like once they get the training bug, that training is actually the whole deal. It's the dog plus
That's
the
right.
training, and it's like it hooks them like just a total passion. I mean, it overtakes them. And
yeah,
so
you
had
start
that-
out there with that little puppy. He's 7 weeks old, and you bring him home, and we brought him home, and he's in the old classic story. He's in a box in the front seat, and he's laying on a towel, and and you get him out, and you stop somewhere to let him use the bathroom, and you flip him a puppy bumper, and he runs out there and gets it, and man, you are hooked, and you get a dog that is bred to compete and be a powerhouse duck dog. I mean, there's nothing like it. And you're always seeking that, and we ran that and started traveling with hunt test and HRC and AKC hunt test with that dog, and just had a lot of fun. And then in a couple of years I got another one, and so at one time I had about 5 that I was training and competing, and just had a lot of fun. So
when was your first entry in the Grand?
I ran the Grand. I judged it first, and then I ran the Grand with that dog with Bart. But he was 10 years old, and we got to the second series, and just had some bad luck. And but he was an older dog at the time, and when I got into the next dog, that was I wanted to focus on getting to the Grand with that dog. So, and then I've run it 2 times since then, and just had a good time with it. So.
How many dogs do you have now?
I have 3 right now.
Okay. And at the maximum you had 5, because at that point I think you had 5 in
Yep.
what you were talking.
Yep.
Okay, so 5 is the
Yep.
most you've ever had?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first dog you self-trained, you got into hunt test, and when did you decide, I want to start doing some judging?
Probably around 2003, 2002, started judging locally and worked my way up through the ranks and I got invited to judge the Grand. I was involved at the national level through my home club, and met Glenn Stelly and some of the old guys from the committee, and they invited me out to judge it. And I judged down in Coastal Empire Grand down in Savannah, Georgia in 2006.
Okay. So what makes someone want to cross from, hey, I've got these dogs, I'm running them in these tests, to, oh, now I think I want to judge? Is it just you love the atmosphere and the event so much, that's the next level? I just love this so much.
That's it. I had a great home club in Central Florida Hunting Retriever Club, and the club presidents we had, Carl Knock and Wayne Guy, they were mentors. They were big in the training as amateurs. And, they really had a good club, and I wanted to be part of that. And, they helped me so much that I kind of felt like I owed it, that I would go off to these tests, and other folks were judging and weren't able to run their dogs. And, and I had do you remember Bill Dumas, Chris?
I don't at all.
Man, Bill was like a founding member of HRC, and he was down in Central Florida, but he was one of those guys that he would just lay it out to you. You need to give back. You're in here doing this and this, and you need to give back. And that was always instilled into me, and just the love of the organization. and started judging, and then became president of the club, and went to the first national meeting and met some legends. You get the HR magazine and you flip through there and there's all these names and these legends, and you go there and you start meeting these folks and see that they have that level of commitment and desire for the HRC organization and their clubs, and start getting invited to go all over the country and judge and run dogs. But we would take off every year, had a group of friends that we would pick somewhere that was way out of our region and just take a trailer load of dogs and go, and be gone a week and run tests. It was just a lot of fun.
And were you still a fireman throughout most of this process?
Yep. That 24/48
So
schedule of the fire department makes it easy to take off time. So.
Right. So you have like you work for 48 hours and you're off for 4 days, right?
No, you work for 24 hours and then you're off for 48 hours. But we swap time and vacation time and all kinds of stuff. So.
Yeah. And so how did your obsession for training and judging, how did that affect your hunting life? Because I've known some guys that they like it more than even hunting.
It is, and we kind of quit deer hunting for a while, and backed way off of that. And I used to spring turkey hunt, as much as I could, and that kind of went slap away. That was gone. Yeah. Because when the weather breaks, you're like, man, I am training. In Florida, you got that spring training from about the end of duck season there, the first week of February to June 1st. You got to get a lot of training in because it's just too hot after that. So. But they kind of changed away from some of that other hunting, but the ducks is all, because that's the pinnacle of you've trained this dog. Man, I want to go hunt them. That I want to take them and show what I can do, and use them with what they're bred for.
Yeah.
Are you still living in Central Florida?
No, we moved, kind of semi-retired, and moved 3 years ago to Southeast Alabama, to Union Springs, Alabama. So.
Are you waterfowl hunting there now?
Not around here much, but I do travel. Go down to Louisiana to some friends down there, and out to Oklahoma, and just wherever, up to Ohio. We had a farm in upstate New York where my wife is from, and we would go up there and hunt geese and hunt some ducks up there, and just as much as I can travel. I love to travel. So
right. So you judged the Grand a couple times, and then when did the opportunity to become a chairman rear
I was on the committee. Mike Witt was president of HRC, and he asked me if I wanted to come on the committee and help out. And of course, I jumped at it. Once you go to the Grand and you judge it, or you get around it and you see those dogs, and man, that's it. From day one of all those dogs that are just trying to survive to day 5 when you're shaking hands with all those handlers. And, I'll never forget, I'm going to brag on Chris for a second, is we were in Iowa, I want to say maybe around 2007. And Chris was the first handler that I saw that I actually had to get a box to put all of his ribbons in. And that was back when he was running. He could only run 8 dogs.
Yeah, he only could run 8.
Yeah, you could only run 8 dogs in the Grand, and Chris had to have a box to put all of his ribbons in. And there was some others. There's some great handlers, and that's when you're like, there's where you need to go. You need to look for that type of dogs, and you get fascinated into the breeding and the lines, and that kind of stuff. I had a conversation with a guy the other day. We were talking about, he's like, well, what do you look for in a dog? Well, HRC is my passion, and the Grand is obviously my passion. So I want as much Grand title dogs as I can get into a breeding. And that's where, a good breeding program, if you're a Grand fanatic, that's what you need to look for. So
I'm curious, and Chris, I know you'll chime in on this too. How much do you, as far as a Grand dog, this is just a guess, but what percentage of that is trainer driven versus genetics? I mean, obviously you have to have a good trainer, but Chris, do you believe that you could take about any dog that likes to retrieve and pass the Grand, or what have you seen as far as the distribution?
That's a really hard question. I know from breeding aspects, Chris Aiken and I talk about this all the time. Grand dogs make Grand dogs. That's just, you got a line, Eric Tizon, we talk about it all the time. If you got a pedigree full of Grand dogs, your odds are better getting a Grand dog. far as it's hard to say. Every trainer is different. Every trainer's got different abilities, different, styles. But if they love to retrieve, and then they're a good team player, and you're a good trainer, you got a really good chance of getting a grand title or being competitive at the grand. There is no such thing as I'm going to get a grand title for sure. That is any
That
trainer
is a
out there.
fallacy.
Any trainer out there that guarantees you a grand title, you need to go find a different trainer, because I'm going to tell you right now, I've made 60+ grand champions. I never guarantee that. It's a monster. But I don't know, Elliot. That's hard to say. There are some trainers out there though that I know are really good trainers, but the grand gets them. And what I mean by that is you can make or break your dog with a gun, swinging the gun, shoot at the wrong time. It's a much different thing to be a good grand handler than it is a weekend finish test handler. It's a much, and Tracy probably would test it. It's a different monster.
Absolutely.
You have to be calm, cool, collected. You got to be really good with the gun. You got to because you can fail your dog with that gun, pointing the wrong way, chucking the wrong time. It's a different monster. So I know a lot of really good trainers out there that don't have very good grand records just because they, sometimes the event or that moment in time is too big for them. And it just consumes them, and they get and Tracy has seen it, they get so nervous. They're so nervous they can't even function. I've seen people blow the wrong end of the duck call. I mean, it's grown men and women just. I mean, absolutely. On Tracy, am I lying? I mean, it is.
No, you're not.
A few grands ago, and you were nervous too. Like it's
absolutely.
If
you don't get nervous at the grand, you're lying.
Correct. And I'm nervous at the grand. I don't really probably look nervous at the grand, but I am. And the farther in the grand I go, the more nervous I get. But I like to use that nervous energy as like a superpower almost. I mean, I encourage that nervous energy. I embrace it, because that means you care and you keep your wits and you're smart. And you make good reactions. You make good decisions. There's some people that the nerves just eat them alive, and they can't.
Yeah, and they let one little thing just collapse their whole performance. And it's probably a good time to talk about some of the fallacies of the grand, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that this dog's got to be a soldier and walk in perfect cadence with you and can't move, can't make any noise, can't do any of this stuff. Those are all untrue.
Well,
you're going to have a dog that you want him to be calm and collected. You want him to be engaged in the hunt and be eager to retrieve and work with you.
Yeah.
If he's screaming and crying, he's not a grand dog. You wouldn't want to hunt with that dog. Yeah. And you wouldn't allow it in your duck blind.
Well, and I will say though, Tracy, since the regime change and and the old guard is out of the grand committee, the grand's much different now. I'm not saying it's easier. I'm just saying it's more user friendly. And that you got to walk at the heel perfectly. You can't move. Those days are gone. The thing about the grand, and like Elliot asking about a grand dog, is they're a very unique dog, because you have to have enough power to go big. Like the land tests are getting big. I mean, they're tough, challenging. They're big tests. Because obviously we got a lot of dogs in the grand, and the water test can't be 20 minutes. So I think a lot of times the land tests are big, and you got to have a dog with enough power and motor to go through the marshy, nasty, mucky stuff in the water, then go big on land. But you got to have a dog that has some brains to check down on the 30-yard mark that'll kick your butt. They're a very different animal. You got to have enough horsepower to do it, but you got to have enough brains to think your way through it, if that makes sense.
Yes, that'd be absolutely correct.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have 4 low in the water, but you got to have damn horsepower on land, and it's a much different animal than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's that's I think some of the things that we look for when we're talking about consistency with the judges, and Dean Roy and Jimbo Earls do a great job in the seminar of explaining to the judges just what we're looking for. We don't need a 30-minute water test per dog. We can't get the test done. We'll be there for weeks with 1,000 dogs.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have a real quick water test in there that's going to be every element is going to count, and you can't make a mistake in there.
No.
So you got to have one, like Chris says. You can't be hunting all over the marsh. You're going to go right into your fall and get your bird picked up, and you're going to run a blind that's real tight. But you see a lot of handlers that they say, "Oh, I got a cast refusal," and then they just give up.
Yeah,
and you can't do that, because a lot of times the judges are looking at what you're recovering out of. The blind is set up for you to get into trouble, to challenge you, because it may only be a 70-yard blind. And so you're going to get into trouble, and how do you recover out of that? Just because the dog went the wrong way, that's not the end of the world. How are you going to stop them, get them engaged, and get them recovered back to the bird? Yeah. And, you see a lot of great handlers that, when something goes wrong, the wheels just fall off. And I think it's all about keeping composure and staying engaged with the dog until he's got the bird in his mouth and he's coming back.
Oh, for sure. I've seen some trainers and handlers, if they lose one or two dogs in a row, they're done. I mean, their entire truck is just, they're crumpled, and they
That's
have
right.
a hard time compartmentalizing and everything, and they just crumble. But the thing about the Grand, and Tracy can attest to this, you are going to hit bad luck. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And how you rebound from that is whether you pass or fail. And there's just some things you can't control: the sun, the wind, and I always tell people, I'm bringing 30 dogs this Grand, Tracy. I don't know if you know that or not, but I'm bringing 30.
Yeah,
and that's a bunch. I'm gonna die.
Yes.
But and I tell everybody that I'm bringing is capable of passing this thing. But there's going to be some dogs that we cannot control the outcome. We can't control the elements, and they're not going to pass because of stuff we can't control. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Sun's in a bad place. You lost the wind. Blah, 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 blah.
You had too much wind. Yeah.
Or too much wind. Or it's but the thing about it is, Ike and I talk about this all the time, the great dogs have always found a way to do it. For some reason, like his Boomer dog and my Jetter Flash dog, or Ammo of Tizon, and the great dogs, the dudes of the world, the Masons of the world, they find a way to do it. That's a special.
Mm-hmm.
There's different levels of Grand dogs, and don't get me wrong. When you get a Grand title, that's. And I did an interview a few years ago. You may train this dog all day long, and you may I don't even like this damn dog, or he's got no shot, blah blah blah. But the second they get their Grand title, you look at them differently. It's a different animal. It is. They gain your respect, and I've had a bunch of those in my career that I didn't even like the dogs for the most part, but they got their Grand title. Now they've earned respect. So it's a different animal. It's a different way of thinking. It's a unique deal, because the Grand level, and we'll talk about this coming up, is so much higher than a weekend finish test, and people don't understand that when they get there. Those are the people that really honestly get kind of sour on the Grand, because I got a dog's 500 points, never fails a weekend hunt test. Well, you're not going to a weekend hunt test. I mean, you're going to the pinnacle of the and what we do, whether it's AKC or HRC, the Grand is the hardest hunt test in the world. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's all there is to it. So.
Yeah, and I think that what separates us out from everybody else is you get one bobble, and you get one bobble that you get marginal scores, and you earn that pair of ones. You've got to be pretty solid the rest of that event.
Oh.
And so, and there's a lot of dogs that get a bobble in the first bird, and then they come back and they're just hammered, and it doesn't even bother them. But that's where that handler's got to do their part. And, it's over with, it's done, it's scored, move on and keep fighting. And all that matters is that you pass to the next series. That's all that matters. So, and you got to get that in your mind. You can't worry about that dog that went out. Multi-dog handlers, they lose a dog. You got to forget him. He's done. He's out. He can't do anything,
I remember 2005, 2006, 2007. I can't remember what year it was, but I had a dog I was running named Grits that Tom Herman owned, and I'll never forget it. He's a big chocolate dog, and I was running for his Grand title, and we were all excited. Me and Tom, it's going to be Tom's first Grand dog, and back then I only had 10 or 15 under my belt, and he was the first dog of our flight. He handled on the Go Bird. and I passed him. They passed the damn Grand. I couldn't believe it. I could not. I'm thinking, well, I texted Tom, hey man, he's like, oh, we're screwed. And he went through and he passed the damn thing. So it was it's some dogs. It's funny. Some dogs get better as they go. Like I remember, Bill Autry's Cody dog that was so good. He got stronger as the event went on.
There's a lot of dogs like
stronger. That. Yeah, they just get stronger and better. When they gain success.
I think the handlers settle down after that first series, and the dogs read it in them, and they're out. They know they're out of training. That this is game time, and they just focus down and get stronger and stronger. And that fourth series, man, that is incredible to watch those fourth series dogs.
Yeah, and the cream rises to the top when you get to the fourth. But I'm going to tell you, there's not all not all the best dogs pass the Grand either. I mean, you have some hammers that may go out in the first or the second, and you think, oh, this dog isn't going to make it, but that they got a weak dog that you didn't think was going to make it is still alive in the fourth. I mean, that's
sure.
the beauty. That's the beauty of it. I mean, it's just you're passing dogs that shouldn't pass. I mean, that's just the beauty of it. And
those 18 and 20-month-old dogs that are just go out there and get the birds. They don't know anything
they don't
different.
know any better. So they're like you said, they're 20, 24 months old, or even 30 months old. They don't have 8 years of training and skeletons. They just go where the bird was thrown. The bird was thrown there. I'm gonna go get it. It's right there. And then you take your 8-year-old that won't get out of the water at the right time because they stay in the training takes over the marking, so they stay in the water too long. Where the 24-month-old is like, I'm just gonna go get it. And you're like, what is going on? But they just don't know yet. They don't have enough. Their mind isn't clouded yet. They just go get the bird because that's where the bird was thrown. And that's really what you need. I mean, you don't need a dog at the Grand that's super technical or anything like that. You just and I'll test it. You got 3 very distinct areas of the fall. You got a blind. There is no tricks. There is nothing hidden. It's there for you to get. Go get it. And it's you think you walk. It's so funny because now you say, oh, we run all these dogs on setup. We always walk up to these tests and go, okay, this looks like a finish test. Like a little bit bigger than like we're gonna kick its butt. Then we walk out there going, what the hell happened? I mean, what happened? Am I wrong, Tracy? It happens all the time. And the people that look at the HRC magazine, that stupid little write up picture, they're like, my dog would look at it. It's simple. Like you weren't there. You don't. The little drawings don't do it justice. And we walk out,
the pictures don't do them justice.
No,
sometimes.
Not at all. And you walk out of that series and you're just like you got punched in the face all for 24 hours. You're like, I just handled half of my truck or 3/4 of my truck on a 35-yard mark. I mean, what the hell? I mean, it will drive you crazy. I mean, it's so deceiving. But like Tracy said, they run setup dogs on it. And they throw birds where the dogs don't want to go, and that they have to mark. And it's not an easy thing. But I encourage everybody to do it, especially if you got a really good, strong finish dog. I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. You just need to do it.
That's what I tell when somebody goes, well, how do I know if my dog is ready? I said, you need to travel a little bit to your weekend test. Don't run under the same judges all the time. Don't go to the same grounds. So travel a little bit, and if you can get through the majority of your tests without handling on marks and struggling on blinds, you probably have potential for a grand dog.
Yeah. And
my other philosophy is you will never pass it if you stay home. So.
Never. You don't. If you won't kill nothing if you don't shoot. That's
right.
all. That's all there is to it. And there's some handlers out there and trainers that won't take some of these dogs to the Grand because like they're worried about their pass rate. You know what I mean? I don't care. I got a good pass rate, but I'm not really worried about the pass rate. If a dog is capable of passing it, like let's go. If you don't kill nothing, if you don't shoot, and I'm not worried about my pass rate. We're here to build Grand champions, and we give every dog a chance. Because I'm going to tell you, I've taken some dogs that were on my alternate list. Like a female came into heat or something like that, and I would bring them up before it started on an alternate, and the damn dog passed. I didn't even have him signed up, and it just passed. Like you just got to take your shot. You just got to take your shot. And as an owner, you need to put your big girl panties on because this is different than a weekend finish test. This is a much different deal. You got to have some thick skin, and you got to roll with the punches. And it's not all cupcakes and rainbows, but when you get that Grand title, even if you don't get the grand title and your dog is at the grand with a good trainer, you should be proud of that dog, because there's very few dogs in the world that can actually walk the line to do it.
Hey, they're a champion already just to get there,
100%.
So they're a pretty dadgum good dog just to get there, to get to go,
Yeah.
And but it's you're right, Chris, that when you see those grand ribbons, and for us, on both sides of the fence, is for us to know that we put up good solid tests, and you beat us, you passed the standard and you beat us, man. We are so proud for you, and the guys and gals that are on the committee, they're as happy for you as your owners and yourself. We set it up, we all worked together, and man, you made it.
Yeah. There's definitely a good camaraderie with people, and everybody gets along. We're all rooting for each other. Like we're all as a handler, when we come into the grand, we always, it's like us against them, not against you, Tracy, but us against the test, and us against the system. So it's the intensity level is completely different too. Like it's a completely different intensity level, and it's hard to maintain that intensity for that long. But it's a different monster. Tracy, can you explain? So somebody out there that's coming to the grand and they got a really, really good finish dog, give us the difference between a finish test and a grand test. Because people are always asking, I want to see a grand test. I'm going to tell you right now, some grand tests are big finish tests that are judged harder. Give advice to somebody coming to the grand that's got a really good finish dog that wants to run. What's the difference between a grand test and a finish test?
Okay, so go back, and the first thing they need to do is have a rule book, and they need to go to the grand section of the rule book and understand the differences of the distances on the marks and the blinds and how the tests are out there. If you're going to run it, you need to know what the rules are. And so you go there and you go, okay, well, that doesn't tell me how it's judged. And you go there and you look at the description of it, is the grand champion reacts with precision and style in everything that he does. And so you apply that, and we're going to judge you on every element of what we think the pinnacle of the duck hunting or hunting dog should be. He should be a dog that is obedient, that has a calm demeanor in the blind. He doesn't jump around wildly, knocking things over, and all that. He's going to walk with you to get in the blind. If it's a boat, if it's a platform, or if it's just a spot on the ground that you're going to sit down in a chair. And he's going to walk there and he's going to be engaged with the handler. And what we're looking for when we judge that, we're going to judge you on that control coming out of the holding blind, is a dog that walks with you and is engaged with you. If they're up in the tent with the judges, or they're running to the line, or they're doing all that, that's not a grand dog. That's not a dog that you're going to go, I've got the baddest mamma jamma around, going to the duck blind. And then you go down there at the marks, and what you want to see is a dog that goes directly to the area of the fall.
No,
and what we want to see
that
is
makes you want to throw up. I hate that.
It doesn't mean a straight line. I think that everybody gets worried that it does not mean a straight line. It means directly to the area of the fall. It means that dog did not get interrupted and loop all over the field and hunt to the cover, and he run into a wall of trees, and then he hunted back, and he went as directly and purposefully as he could to the area that he thinks the bird is at. And then we want them to establish a hunt and hunt diligently, meaning they're going to make a tight hunt in that fall area, and they're going to come up with the bird and come back, and they're going to do that 3 times. And every mark, Chris said it earlier, is we're not going to pile marks on top of each other, because that doesn't. We want to know, did that dog mark that bird, and did that dog go to that marks area of the fall? And so if we pile them on top of each other, we can't really determine that. If we have overlapping falls and things like that, now we're struggling to be consistent in our judging, and we don't want that. We want to go, that dog did not go to that fall. He split the marks. He went deep. He ran out of open terrain, hit the cover, come back, and just hunted all over the place. He didn't mark at the grand level. And so that's the difference to me. And then it carries over from, if you've got an honor situation, that dog needs to carry over, and it needs to be quiet while you're shooting the marks on that honor and be under control. It can't be out here jumping around and interfering, because that other dog the working dog needs to focus. You know, he needs all that super intensity to watch those marks because they're hard to see. That Chris is right. The land distances are at the max, and they're going to be. You know, it might be an open field with just a few shrubs around it or something, and the site coordinators, they are going to hide those wingers, and the dog's not going to look out there and go, oh, there's a hide, there's a hide, there's a hide.
No,
they're going to walk out there and they're going to look for the birds to fly.
I'm telling you, yeah, people don't get it. Their crew will. All you see is little brush piles out there or nothing at all, and the birds just show up. There's no pointing out the guns. There's no holding blinds. I'm going to tell you, if people have not seen a 180-yard bird come out of a bush, it looks like a 300-yard mark. People don't understand how difficult that actually is. If that bird comes out at 12 o'clock in the tree background, if it doesn't skyline really good, if that dog's looking at 1, it doesn't even see the damn mark. So people don't understand the difficulty of a marking. So let's just talk about like AKCs, you know, call, shoot in the field. The dog sees that mark because there's attention getting device. The Grand, it's a finish test on steroids, and you can't see anything. Like, it just shows up. And if a dog doesn't look down that gun barrel, people don't. I can't stress it enough. 180-yard mark is a huge mark when all you see is the bird pop up. It's completely different mark.
And you got to have that dog that's a team player that's looking where you're helping him, you know, and that's your part as a handler is make sure he's looking around and looking out that barrel and looking that direction. And, you know, and they'll see the birds, and if they go to the fall, they will find the bird. It'll be right there. You know, there's no tricks. You know, most of the time, you know, on a water test, you can see the birds, but if they're not looking at it, they can't get there. Yeah. And so, you know, we're going to have it all separated out there. And, you know, and then the blind's going to be somewhere in the middle that's going to have those marks are going to influence that blind. And, you know, it's put there for a reason. You know, if we do it in a flat field and we can influence it with the marks, we're going to do it, you know. And, you know, so that's the difference of you know, you go to a weekend test, how many weekend tests you go to that somebody brushes the hides in? You know, it does rarely does it happen, you know, and it takes time, you know, that, and I have the best crew in those site coordinators. You know, those guys will stay out there in the dark, cutting cedar boughs and limbs, and, you know, and they make them disappear. And that's a trademark of the site coordinators at the Grand event.
It is, LA, when you see it is something to behold, because like you'll come up to just an open piece of water and you're like, oh, okay. You know, if you look on like Google Earth or whatever you want to look at, or you talk to, oh, it's just an open piece of water. Well, when Glenn and his crew get done, there is sticks and logs and trees and bushes and decoy. It just looks nothing like what you could have went and ran a finish test like at these grounds here. They just had, you know, Music City or whatever there. And you could run these grounds a month from now, you know, a month earlier. You get to the Grand, it's completely different. Like there's trees and bushes and shrubs and decoy. You're like, what? And them little beavers are out there putting them down. Oh, it's something. Then they throw the bird behind the butt. I mean, it's much different. It's much different.
Yeah, they do a great job. But, you know, that's pretty much what I would say the differences are is the marks are separated out and they all have a purpose. There's no marks that are out there just for the mechanics. They're there for a purpose. Correct. And you'll see somebody that comes up and there's a 20-yard bird laying out there and they're like, oh, that's nothing. Yeah. And 25% of the dogs in the first 2 flights will handle on that bird or never get it. They just can't get to it. So, but it's just that's the difficulty of the Grand event. So
it is. It's a much different monster, but I mean, it's doable. So people out there, you know, let's put something to bed. The days of your dog walking to the line like a slug and having to be a robot with no passion and no style, those days are over. I mean, Tracy's new crew, you know, you know, your dog can move a little bit. It can make a little bit of noise. It can move. It can reposition. You're a team and you're moving around and it's hard to see the marks, but those days of, you know, my dog beat me to the bucket by 2 feet, I'm out. Those days are over. Those days are over. It's much better. And my hat's off to Tracy and his crew because they've changed some of their philosophies and they saw, you know, it wasn't great and it's much different now. It's much more user friendly. I'm not saying it's easier by no means, but those days of those robot dogs are over. That's over. But
All right. Well, we're at about an hour here. Is there anything else that we want to
yeah,
hit before we
I got a few
sign it
things.
off?
I got a few things.
All right.
Let's Tracy, let's talk about how do you pick your judges for this?
Okay.
Let's talk about
Our
that.
judges are picked. They come from recommendations that from the field reps that are in each region. That they have a finish level judge. You have to be AA licensed finish judge to judge the Grand. You do not have to have run the Grand, but you have to be a AA finish judge. And we'll get recommendations from the field reps. We'll get recommendations from club presidents. That they have someone that's a good judge. Our own observation. All of my committee members, judge all over the program, and so we're always looking. We'll get a name, and it may be somebody that we're looking at that's a brand new judge. They've got a half a dozen judging assignments, and we'll put them on our radar. And whenever we get a chance, we're looking at them, and just building and looking for judges all the time. We get a lot from the national officers because they travel a lot and meet a lot of people. We also get inputs from handlers and pros. I mean, Chris and I have had several discussions on potential judges, and he's not the only person that I talk to. So I can't meet everybody. I pick all the judges. So as chairman, I think that's my responsibility that I pick and approve every judge that comes in here. And, because I want them to come in with the philosophy that we have worked hard to establish. As I like your compliment there, Chris, as a user friendly. The Grand is an incredible animal with 40 years of history, and it had some struggles getting to where it is today. And I thank my predecessors and my mentors for getting us there, because it's not easy, trying to develop this. And, the guys and women that I have involved now that help me guide this thing, they have an open philosophy that let's try this. And, if it works, good. If it doesn't, then we'll do something different, but I pick the judges out all those recommendations, and we go through, and then we start checking availability, because a lot of judges you want to have, they can't get the time off, or they got to plan a year in advance. So I'll have judges that I've asked to judge, but I'm probably not going to use them for 3 Grands because that's their availability. Because it's basically about a 12-day commitment for them to come and judge the Grand, because they come in so early in travel time and all that. And I have some judges that are repeat judges because they do a great job. And when I bring new judges in, I want to pair them with good older judges that have judged before. We never put 2 brand new Grand judges together. That's not setting them up for success. And they're a fully licensed judge. They're not an apprentice by no means, but we want them to have someone that's been there and judged it before to help guide them through the way and do the right thing. So, when you see guys that have judged 4, 5, 6, I think one guy's up to about 7 or 8 now that he's judged. He's a really good judge. He's a really good mentor for new judges. So
Who's that?
I think Tim Soucy's at 7 now.
Tim?
So,
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, and then our hats off to the judges too, because I'm going to tell you, Elliot, they sit on the same test in the same chairs for 4 days and watch 1,000 dogs run, and judges make mistakes. That's
Sure.
the
They're
biggest
human.
thing I can say about Tracy and his crew. I've had some problems before, and I've called Tracy, hey man, can you come over here? And he'll come right over, and I'll explain what's going on, and he'll either fix it or he'll say, that's just how it's going to be. But it's much different than the other game, which we're not going to talk about. But you can voice your opinion to these people, and if they can fix it, they'll fix it. I mean, that's the thing. They're in it for the dogs. And there's not a whole lot of egos there. People, hey, I made a mistake. My bad. My bad. No, and Tracy's done it to us a number of times over in 20-some years we've known each other. And my hat's off to him, because he'll fix it. Like, if it's something, because everybody makes mistakes, and the judges and the Grand Committee know what's riding on it. They know, and the judges get nervous. I mean, I've seen judges write in their book and their hands are shaking, like they don't want to make a mistake.
Sure. Hey, my first judging assignment, with these guys, I was with Mike Botts was my senior judge there, or the judge that had done it before. Mike was pretty strong and confident, and both of us were terrified. You see these guys that come down, and one of the big things that I've always tried to be is try to be personal. I want to be treated. I want to treat you like I expect you to treat me, and we're all in it for the dogs, and I'm in it for you. If we pass every dog that comes there, that's how it rolled out. If we fail every dog that comes there, that's just how it rolled out. We're prepared for either way, but we want to be fair and consistent. And thank you, Chris. Myself and the committee, we work hard at, if there's an issue, that we go and try to see if it's human error, if it was just a quick judgment that we can undo and redo or whatever. That's the fair thing for the dog. And and if we can't, and if the judges have got solid reasoning and they've convinced me, then it's tough. And we've had those conversations too. Is, hey man, that's the way it's going to be. The dog did this, and this is how they've judged consistently. And I'm gonna challenge them on that. I'm going to challenge my committee guy that's sitting there with them. Is that how you've been judging this consistently? And if the answer is not yes, then we're going to fix it. If not, then that's how it's going to be.
I've seen Tracy come in, and Tracy, well, a lot of people don't know about you. You're a very emotional, passionate person, and you wear your emotions on your sleeve, which is fantastic. And I've seen Tracy get teary eyed over some stuff because he cares that much. Chris Aiken and I talk about it all the time. Like, you care, and Mike Botts and Jimbo, and everybody cares. But I've seen Tracy get welled up and tears in his eyes, because he was upset and he wanted to make things right, and he's passionate about what he does. It's refreshing to see. It really is.
Well, thank you. I'll absolutely take that as a compliment. And I've surrounded myself with people that feel that way, and they want to do what's right because it's what's right for the dogs and what's right for the organization. And it's our organization. Everybody that runs the Grand is an HRC member. They have to by the rules, but they're passionate about HRC, or they wouldn't be doing it. You wouldn't put yourself through that 20 hours a day of boredom for that 10 minutes of sheer terror up there if you weren't passionate about it.
That's true. So,
but it's been a development, and one of the best things for us is I think that the handlers believe in us. They might not always agree with us, but they do believe in us, and if it's wrong, then we'll fix it. And if it isn't working for us, we're growing, and there's a lot of things that we don't know what works for us. We have a different format than other groups do, and I'm not copying anybody else, but if they've got something that works, I will sure borrow it. And but there's some things that we're out on a limb there, and if it works out, that's great. If it doesn't, then we're going to do something different the next time. But the handlers trust us, and that's important to all of us.
And I'll be quite honest with you, Tracy, and you know me, I say it how it is. That trust hasn't always been there. It hasn't always been there, and when Tracy took over, things have really changed for the better. And it's not us against them anymore. It's us against the test. Back in the day, it was us against the committee, and that things have changed. It's a much better deal. It's much nicer. It's much calmer. It's got a different feel to it, and I commend you guys on that.
Well, those guys are legends. That were there, and they put a lot of passion into it, and they give it their all. But I think that we needed some fresh ideas, and the organization changed. And it's I think it's all for the good. But it was a struggle to change some things. But I don't take away from anything that anybody that's involved with the Grand prior to me has done, because
I'm not either.
I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying things have changed a little bit, because all those old horror stories that you hear, I'm not running because they're gonna fail my dog for beating me the bucket by 2 feet. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. I mean, things are different.
That's right.
Now. Things are different now. Let's talk about some stuff. Let's talk about progress to the line to the blind. So this is.
Oh boy!
So there we go. Let's because this is one of the questions I get asked a lot. Is here's what was explained to me, and then you correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy. You have to progress to the lines of the blind. You got to progress to the end of the blind or the bird, or progress to you.
Mm-hmm.
You do not, correct me if I'm wrong, you do not have to cross the line to the blind.
Correct.
Correct. Say that. You do not have to cross the line to the blind. So if that blind
Correct.
was like this, and you want your dog doing this. You got an end goal, and if you're here with your dog, and this is the blind, and you go like this, that's progress. You don't have to do this. Okay, but you can't do this. That doesn't work.
You can't do that. You're not challenging it.
Correct.
So,
You've got to challenge the line to the blind. So am I right? So it's progress to the line to the blind, progress to the bird, or progress to you.
yes, the only
right?
on the last one there, the progress to you, that can't be on every cast. But if
Correct.
you get two cast refusals in a row, you've got to do something different. We know you've got to do something different. So it may be that you bring that dog back to you a little bit, clear their mind, and then reset and go again. So yes, that is. But you can't, give them a cast and call them to you. Give them a cast and call them to you.
Yeah.
You're
I'm
not
not saying
showing
that. Yeah.
progress. But yeah, you get two cast refusals in a row, you got to do something different.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. I don't know where that crossing the line got started because
I don't either.
Dean gives a real good example in the seminar. Is if you're going on a blind and you get 10 yards off on the left, and you go, okay, I'm going to cross the line. And you cross the line, and that dog ends up 10 yards on the right. It's a cast refusal because you were already in a bad position, and you just went straight across on the other side in the same bad position. You're just on the right side now. And I think that's where people get messed up about that is you need to stop them on that line and get them headed back to the bird. And that's your recovery there. That's that direct casting and, not ping pong back and forth, because at the grand level, that's not showing that carrying the cast to the line or to the bird.
And how I explain this to people, Tracy, here, so if you're running a test and your dog is doing this on the blind, that's your chop. That'll work on a finish test. That's going to work on a finish test. But on a grand dog, they don't look like this.
No.
They look like this. They look smooth.
Yes.
They look smooth and controlled. They do this. That's how a grand blind looks. And the people that say you've got to cross a line, that they're just wrong. And I'm glad you said that, because that's one of the biggest things I fight with people about that. They're like, you got to cross the line.
And that's something
you don't.
No, you don't, because you can end up in the same situation you were on one side and the other and getting a refusal.
Yeah.
So it's you need to be going to the bird or to that line to the bird, and that's the difference of another one of those differences of a weekend test versus the grand is we're looking for that precision and style in that grand champion. And, they need to go out there, and you need to stay engaged all the way to the bird. There's a lot of guys on the weekend, they'll get them within 5 yards and then let them go into that hunt them up mode. That'll get you put right out at the grand. You may have ran a perfect one and got that one cast and let him go into quartering that last 3 yards. And those judges, that's not what they're looking for. They want that dog under grand level control to the bird.
I'm going to tell you, everybody listening to this thing, the last 10 yards of a grand blind are usually the worst or the hardest, because they're putting that bird where they don't want to go. And you, like Tracy said, you've got to finish that blind to the very, very end. If you think, oh, they're going to see the pole, they'll run right by the damn thing, and now you're lost it, and you're done. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a dog run right past the pole, go into the cover, and you try to whistle it out of the cover, it ends up 10 yards to the right, and you can't finish the blind. I mean, you were one or two whistles there, and then you're out because you didn't.
Yeah, it's over with in 3 casts.
Correct.
Yeah, 2 whistles and a cast, and it's over with.
You were literally one. I mean, all you got to do is finish it. Stop them, put them on the bird, and you're done. Now, that sounds easier than it is sometimes, but you have to. That's the thing about a grand blind. You've got to finish it. So anybody out there training for it, you got to finish it. That's all there is to it to the very end.
Yeah, there's no hunt 'em up blinds at the grand. There's no coast in there. And that's part of that grand standard. And we're not. You don't have a 500-yard blind. You don't have a 300-yard blind. It's going to be 150 yards at the max. And so you got a lot of judgment in that little bit of area there. So you don't have a lot of room for error. So That's the difference.
It is the difference. And let's talk about the area of the fall and the marks. Explain the area of the fall, like short marks, long marks, middle marks. Are the areas of the fall, are they a little bit tighter than a weekend test, or what? Explain the area of the fall at the Grand, because you can handle, and I do it all the time. You can handle in the area of the fall at the Grand, and it's not considered a handle. But once you start handling, you better handle the bird. But you can handle in the area. But let's talk about the area of the fall.
Okay, so the area of the fall is where that bird should have landed. So that's going to be an area, and you got to give it. We use gunners up wingers, so our marks are placed, very similarly on every mark. And so that area, they're going to develop an area there that says, hey, this 3-yard area, 4-yard area is where we expect the bird to land. And the area of the fall is going to be a little bit bigger than that, depending on conditions, distance, wind, terrain, cover, all those things that we're going to talk about in the judges seminar and during setup. And we're going to challenge the judges as to where that is. But at the Grand, it's going to be tight. It's not going to be a 30-yard area. This is not a season level dog. This is a Grand level dog. So it's going to be a tight area. The order of throw, the order of retrieve, those all, it fluctuates a little bit. That first bird out is going to have a real tight area of the ball. That's the go bird. So that dog ought to be able to pretty much go right out there and pick that bird up. He shouldn't be hunting a 30-yard, 40-yard area on the go bird. And but the memory bird, we're going to give him a bigger area of the fall, which will go into what we call the hunt area, and that's the area that the dog's trying to work out his scent cone and work out the cover and do those things there to get in on that bird. The area of the fall is going to be inside the hunt area, and every dog has different style. High rollers have a bigger hunt area than a more methodical dog that goes right out there and hunts real tight. So that fluctuates, but that area of the fall is going to be just that relatively small area around where we expect that bird to land.
Yep. Okay. Let's talk about one more thing. Let's talk about the point system so that people are listening and they're getting ready to go to their first Grand. Talk about how the point system works when it comes to this. What ones are, that sort of thing. What will get you a one? What gets you out? Let's talk about all that.
All right. So at the Grand is different than a weekend test. That it is an elimination test. So there's scores applied to your performance. Everyone starts with a perfect score of 2. Okay. If you have any issues, be it you're judged on control, that includes coming to the line while you're at the line, while you're exiting out, delivery of birds, noise, any of those things. Those are the things that we're judging you on control, and you get a mark down. Your dog is super noisy. He's barking before he gets there. He's barking at the marks, doing all that. That's not acceptable for a Grand dog. So we're going to say, we don't like that. So we're going to give you a marginal score. That is a 1. Okay. So now your score is 1 in that series. If something else happens, you have to handle to the area of the fall on a mark, or you have more than 2 cast refusals, more than 1 cast refusal on a blind, or you have 3 in a row or something, you have some trouble on the blind, you're going to order another mark down, which takes you to 0. So anything on the marks or anything out of the ordinary on the blind is going to get you another 1 or a 0. But if you get a 1, if you take 1 away from 1, now you're at 0. You're out. And at any time that one judge has you zeroed, you are out. They do not have to be in agreement. One judge can put you out. That rarely happens. And if we do, we're going to stop and we're going to figure out why we're at this different level of judgment, because they should be looking at the same things. And it's going to be usually that one judge missed something that everybody else saw. My committee people are going to be involved there, and they're going to watch what's going on to help those guys. That's the consistency and judgment that we're looking for. So you have to have a minimum score from the combined score of 2 judges of 2 to carry to the next series, to the second series. Okay, so you can either get a 4 or a 2 going into the second series. From then on, you have to keep a score of 2 in all of your test to continue on, because you need a total of 6 to go to the third series and a total of make sure I'm right here, 10 to get to the fourth series. After you score out in the fourth series, everybody goes back to, you have a clear slate, and we go to the upland, and the upland has its own rules where we talk about we want to see the dog quarter, stop its progress when the bird flushes, and be steady while the bird is either shot or letting fly off, and re-engage the hunt, and the dog can do an honor walk up and a hot walk up.
Yeah.
So
a grand dog is truly the best hunting dog in the world. I mean, it is. There's no doubt about it. Your guys' program is fantastic. I mean, the grand is what we all strive to do. We all play the other games, but man, a grand dog to me is the pinnacle. It is the absolute pinnacle of the hunt test game, in my opinion.
Well, it's a dog I like to brag on that can hunt any waterfowl in the U.S. and Canada in the morning. He can be in the marsh in the morning. We can go shoot. We can upland hunt him out, get us some pheasants or huns or something on the way out back to the truck, and then go find us an afternoon field and shoot us some geese in that afternoon field. It's a dog that can hunt all day, that has the stamina and the power to do it, that is not annoying and will get you invited back.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what a grand dog is to me. And then we have the Hall of Fame on there, and that's the ultimate dog there. That's a dog that's you pass the grand 4 times and has 1,000 points from the local events. That is a super consistent dog. But any dog that's got a grand title is an incredible animal. And those dogs with that Hall of Fame, and these dogs with 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 passes, it's just unreal the talent that dog possesses.
Yep. That's a different animal. You start getting into the 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a different animal.
Man, that's an incredible dog.
That is a different animal. There's no doubt.
They don't mess up.
No, and if they do, their mess ups are their bobbles are very little. I mean, very little. But Elliot, do you have anything else for Tracy?
No, I think this has been fascinating. I don't have anything else.
Good. Tracy, do you like to say anything to anybody coming to the grand? Any closing statements or squall any
Man, I can't
rumors?
I can't wait to see. Yeah. No, I think that we're Kim in Music City has done a lot of prep. We're going to have some things that are better there at Laverne's than the last time. So we're really looking forward to that progress as well in advance. Could I take a cheap moment and thank my sponsors, because this is our first grand that we have sold all 11 sites. That's the 10 retrieving sites and the upland.
You have 10. Listen to that, people. They have 10 sites running. 10.
11.
11.
We have 11, Chris.
11 sites. And the other game can't figure out how to do. You guys are fantastic. I mean, 11 sites. It's incredible.
But I would just like to recognize them because it's been an incredible outpouring from the outdoor industry and and our supporters and they're coming on, and this is a huge financial commitment from these companies to be part of the grand. And our ultimate goal for there is to keep those expenses covered and keep that entry fee down, keep that amateur involved. And so that's why we work so hard. Lori Greer and Royce and all the guys and gals that have worked on the sponsor group, they have done an incredible job. And then we have the partnership levels where we have guys that come in and they're advertising in our catalogs and all that at a lower level. But those are things that help us keep those costs down and make it better for the grand and keep that amateur coming. But I'll just name them off real quick: Avery, Banded, Purina, Garmin, Prefert Ranch, Gunners Up Wingers, Thor Boats and Yamaha Motors, Gunner Kennels, Winter Timber Outdoors, Ducks Unlimited, and Hughes Oil. And that's our 11 site sponsors for this grand. I am so proud of the work that the crew has put in for that. That's amazing, Chris.
That's incredible. But, well, Tracy, you have anything else?
No, man. Thank you for having me. And Chris and I could probably go on, Elliot, all night about this because it's when we get together and we talk about it, and we haven't even started talking about individual dogs yet. So because we love that passion. We've had some great ones through the years.
Had some great ones. I watched so many great dogs run that I remember my first grand I saw. I remember my first grand was in Bowie, Texas, or I think that's how you say it, Bowie. And I can't remember what year it was, 3 or 4 or whatever it was. But I came, western Nebraska, little duck hunter, and took a couple dogs down. I saw my first brand. I was like, holy moly. I remember watching Super Shooter, and you could have knocked me over with a feather. That dog was a monster. I mean, I'll never forget watching that dog go across that marsh. It looked like a go devil. It was unbelievable. And I got to watch Boomer at his, later in his life, and I wanted one of those. And then, 25 years later, however long it's been, we've had a bunch of them here. So we're very thankful for that. But it's an eye-opening experience. But thank you for coming.
Oh, yeah, you need to come.
You guys need to come. Yep.
I would love to experience it, just to go and watch.
It's something. It's
really cool.
But thank you.
Well,
Tracy,
we're headed to Kentucky in the spring,
yep.
and then in the fall we'll be back in St. Louis, and we've got about 7 new places on the horizon that we're in talks with, and it's an exciting time to be involved with the Grand.
My buddy Rhett Riddle said you were in Maine this summer looking around. What were you doing in Maine?
Sure was. Yep, all the way up in Bangor, Maine. So,
are we
those folks have the ground. It's if they can get it all together for all the other stuff that goes into it. So,
are we going to Maine? I'm
going to leave that as a mystery.
I've never been to Maine. I love lobster, so I'm in.
September is a beautiful time in Maine. Yeah, September is a beautiful time, and you want to go down to the lobster pound and get right on the coast and get the feast for 2. That's the way to go.
I am in for Maine. I'd love to go up there and do that. That would be fun. So
yeah, it's beautiful country and great people, man.
Yeah. Well, Tracy, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it, buddy. Can't wait to see you in a few weeks, and hopefully everything goes well.
All right. If you need me, call me.
All right, absolutely. Okay, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you, Tracy Stubbs and HRC Grand. We'll see everybody at the line. Take that in.
Gotta strike this chord.